I donated my kidney to my daughter. That's what any parent would do for their child, right? But I never imagined that behind her desperate pleas was a plan carefully built over months. 3 days after the surgery, she walked into my hospital room with her husband and a stack of eviction papers, to throw me out of the home I'd lived in for 40 years. The emotional pain cut deeper than any surgical wound. But then the door opened again, and my transplant surgeon stepped inside with a look that made my daughter's face go pale. In that moment, I knew the truth she'd been hiding was about to come to light. Thank you for choosing to spend this time with me. This story is close to my heart, and I hope it touches yours too. If it does, please like, subscribe, and share where you're watching from in the comments. It helps me understand who's listening. Transparency moments, some details are fictionalized to protect identities, but the pain, the healing, and the truth are very real. I woke up to the sound of machines beeping. For a moment, I didn't know where I was. The ceiling above me was white and stained. Fluorescent lights buzzed softly. The air smelled sharp like bleach mixed with metal. It burned my throat. Then the pain hit. It started as a dull ache on my left side, then exploded. Like someone pressed a hot poker against my ribs. I tried to move, but my body wouldn't cooperate. My arms felt like concrete. I turned my head slowly. A machine beeped beside me. Green lines danced across a screen. An IV drip hung from a pole. I was in the ICU, Massachusetts General Hospital, Boston. It came back in pieces. The surgery, the consent forms, the anesthesiologist counting backward, and Rachel, my daughter, holding my hand as they wheeled me in. I remembered her face, pale, eyes red from crying, her hand squeezing mine. "Mom," she'd whispered, "you're saving my life." 3 weeks earlier, Rachel had appeared at my door after 2.5 years of silence. She looked thin, fragile. When she told me she was dying, that her kidneys were failing, that she needed a transplant, or she'd be gone in 6 months, I didn't hesitate. "Test me," I'd said immediately. "I'll give you my kidney, both if you need them." I swallowed hard. My mouth was dry. I looked down at the hospital blanket. Underneath, I felt the bandage wrapped around my torso. Underneath that, a scar, 9 inches across my left side, where they'd taken my kidney. My kidney for Rachel. Because my daughter was dying, and what kind of mother says no? I pressed the call button. A minute later, the door opened. A woman in blue scrubs walked in. Older, maybe 50s, with kind eyes and gray hair in a bun. Her name tag read, Nancy Walker, RN. "Mrs. Campbell," she said softly. "You're awake. How are you feeling?" "Like someone cut me open," I said. My voice came out rough. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "That's normal. You came out of surgery yesterday. The pain will improve." Yesterday, I'd lost a whole day. "Where's Rachel?" I asked desperately. "Where's my daughter? Is she okay? Did the transplant work?" Something flickered across Nancy's face. Then it was gone. "Your daughter is recovering on another floor, Mrs. Campbell," she said carefully. She checked the IV, adjusted the blanket. She wouldn't look at me. "She's doing fine. Can I see her?" "Not yet. You both need rest. Major surgery." I nodded. That made sense. We'd both been cut open. Rachel had a new kidney. My kidney. She needed time to heal. I thought about the last 5 years. How empty the house felt after James died. How quiet. I'd sit at the kitchen table every morning staring at his empty chair, waiting for him to walk in with that smile. He never did. After James died, Rachel pulled away, stopped calling, stopped visiting. I told myself she was grieving, that she needed space. Space became months. Months became years. Until 3 weeks ago, when she came back, when she needed me. For the first time in 2.5 years, I felt needed again. I looked at the bandage, where part of me was missing. It hurt. God, it hurt. But it was worth it. My daughter would live. That was all that mattered. But when I looked up, Nancy was still by the door, watching me. The look on her face wasn't relief, wasn't joy. It was pity, deep, uncomfortable pity. The kind you give someone when you know something terrible they don't. She opened her mouth like she wanted to speak, then closed it, shook her head, walked out without a word. I stared at the closed door. Outside, snow fell over Boston. Machines beeped. Somewhere in this hospital, my daughter was recovering. At least that's what I told myself. But Nancy's face, that look, like she knew something I didn't, like she felt sorry for me. Why would she look at me like that? 2 days passed like slow torture. They moved me from the ICU to a regular room on day 3. Smaller, quieter, a single bed by the window. The constant beeping was gone, replaced by silence that felt too heavy. Everyone said Rachel was fine. The doctors, the nurses. They all repeated the same careful words. "Your daughter is doing well, Mrs. Campbell. She's resting." But I couldn't see her. I lay awake thinking about happier times. Rachel at 18, home from college. James making pancakes. Sunlight through the windows. Everything felt golden. That world felt like a lifetime ago. James died 5 years ago. Black ice on Route 2. His car hit a guardrail at 60 miles an hour. The police said he didn't feel anything. After the funeral, I thought Rachel and I would grow closer. But the opposite happened. She canceled dinners, stopped answering calls. When she married Derek 2 years later, I told myself newlyweds need space. But the space kept growing. 2.5 years of distance. She came for Christmas last year, but only an hour. Thanksgiving the year before spent on her phone. Every time I asked if something was wrong, she said everything was fine. Until 2 weeks ago. The doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, there she was, my daughter. So thin I almost didn't recognize her. Dark circles under her eyes, shaking. "Mom," she'd said, crying, "I need to tell you something." We sat at the kitchen table. She held my hands and told me she was dying. Kidney failure, stage 4. I've been on dialysis for months. The waiting list is 3 to 5 years, and I don't have that long. Her hands felt cold, trembling. "How long?" I'd asked. 6 months, maybe less. I didn't hesitate. "We'll get you tested today, right now. If I'm a match, I'll give you my kidney." She cried harder. "Mom, I can't ask." "You're not asking, I'm telling you, you're my daughter. I would give you anything." I'd meant it. Now lying in this hospital bed with a scar across my side, I still meant it, even though the pain was worse than I'd imagined, even though I hadn't seen her since surgery, even though something felt wrong. On day 5, a young doctor checked my incision. I asked about Rachel. "She's recovering nicely," he said without meeting my eyes. "When can I see her?" "Soon, Mrs. Campbell." He left quickly. On day 6, a different nurse changed my bandages. I asked about Rachel. She smiled tightly. "She's doing fine." Then she left too. Everyone was lying. I could feel it. Late on day 6, Nancy came back. She'd been avoiding my room since that first day. When she walked in, I sat up despite the pain. "Nancy, please, tell me the truth. Is Rachel okay?" Nancy stood at the foot of my bed for a long moment. She looked tired. "Your daughter will visit you tomorrow, Mrs. Campbell," she said quietly. Relief flooded through me. Tomorrow. Finally. But Nancy's voice was sad, heavy. There was no joy in it. She looked at me the same way she had before, like she pitied me. "Tomorrow," I said, trying to smile. "Thank you." Nancy nodded slowly and left. I turned to the window. Snow was falling again. Tomorrow I would see Rachel. Tomorrow I would hold my daughter and tell her I loved her. Tell her the pain was worth it. Tomorrow. Day 7 arrived. I'd been awake since dawn, watching the window, waiting. Every footstep in the hallway made my heart jump. Finally, just after noon, the door opened. My daughter walked in. Rachel. Relief flooded through me. Sweetheart. I tried to reach for her, but she didn't move toward me. She stood in the doorway with 2 people behind her, a man and a woman in dark suits. But I only had eyes for Rachel. She looked different. Her face had color. Her hair was styled. Burgundy blouse, black slacks. Makeup. She looked healthy, strong. Nothing like someone who'd just survived surgery. "Rachel, how are you feeling? How's the transplant? Are you in pain?" I stopped. Something was wrong. I looked at her torso, searching for the bandage, the bulky dressing they'd wrapped around me, the sign she'd been cut open. There was nothing. "Rachel," I said slowly, "where's your bandage?" She didn't answer, wouldn't look at me. "Where's your surgical scar? Shouldn't you be wrapped up like I am?" Still nothing. The man behind her stepped forward. Tall, mid-30s, dark hair, slicked back, expensive watch. His arm went around Rachel's shoulders. "Hello, Dorothy," he said. I stared at him. "Derek," I said, confused. "What are you doing here?" Derek was Rachel's husband. I'd met him only a handful of times since their wedding 3 years ago. He'd always been polite but cold, the kind of man who smiled with his mouth but not his eyes. "I'm here to support my wife," Derek said smoothly. The woman in the suit stepped forward. Late 30s, sharp features, black leather briefcase. "Mrs. Campbell," she said crisply. "My name is Victoria Chapman. I'm your daughter's attorney." Attorney. The word hit me like cold water. Attorney. Ah. I looked at Rachel. "Honey, why do you need a lawyer? What's going on?" Rachel wouldn't meet my eyes. Her hands twisted together. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Victoria answered for her. "I'm here on a legal matter, Mrs. Campbell." Legal matter. My head was spinning. "I don't understand. Rachel, what is she talking about?" Rachel's jaw tightened. She still wouldn't look at me. Derek's arm stayed around her shoulders. Victoria reached into her briefcase. She pulled out a large manila envelope and placed it on the bed beside me. "This is an eviction notice, Mrs. Campbell," Victoria said calmly. The words didn't register. "What?" I said. "An eviction notice. You're being legally evicted from your property at 428 Elm Street, Boston, Massachusetts." I stared at the envelope, at Rachel, at Derek, at this stranger. Eviction. My voice sounded far away. "From where?" "From your home, Mrs. Campbell," Victoria said. "The property no longer belongs to you. You signed it over to your daughter before the surgery." My hands started shaking. "No," I whispered. "That's not possible. Those were medical consent forms. I signed medical forms, not property forms." Victoria's expression didn't change. "If you read the fine print, Mrs. Campbell—" "Rachel," I interrupted, looking at my daughter. "Rachel, look at me, please." She didn't move. "Rachel," my voice cracked. "What is this?" Finally, slowly, Rachel raised her eyes to meet mine, and what I saw there made my blood run cold. Nothing. No warmth, no love, no guilt, just emptiness. "We need to talk, Mom," she said quietly. The word mom sounded foreign, like she was reading from a script. I stared at the envelope, at my daughter who wouldn't look at me, at her husband with his cold smile, at the lawyer with her briefcase. Something was terribly, horribly wrong. "Eviction," I whispered. "From where?" "From your home, Mrs. Campbell." Victoria's voice was cool and professional. She pulled a folder from her briefcase and set it on the hospital bed. 428 Elm Street, Boston, Massachusetts. I stared at the address typed on the cover page. My house, the house James and I had bought 30 years ago, the house where we'd raised Rachel, where I'd painted her nursery pink, where she'd taken her first steps. That's my house," I whispered. Victoria opened the folder and flipped through several pages. "It was your house. According to the legal documents signed 2 weeks ago, ownership was transferred to Rachel Marie Campbell." She pointed to a signature at the bottom of page 7. "That's your signature, Mrs. Campbell." I leaned forward, pain shooting through my abdomen. The signature was mine. I recognized the looping D and the sharp tail of the final letter. But I didn't remember signing this. I remembered signing medical consent forms, insurance papers, pre-surgery waivers. I signed medical papers, I said slowly, for the transplant, not property transfer. Victoria's expression didn't change. Page 7, Section 3, Transfer of Property Rights. You signed it. My hands shook as I touched the paper. The legal language was dense and confusing. Words like grantor and grantee and irrevocable transfer swam before my eyes. And there, buried in the third section of page 7, was the clause transferring ownership of 428 Elm Street from Dorothy Ann Campbell to Rachel Marie Campbell, effective immediately upon execution of the document. "I didn't know," I whispered. "I thought I was signing consent for surgery." Derek stepped forward. For the first time, he spoke. His voice was calm and measured. "You'll be well cared for, Dorothy. We've arranged everything. Sunrise Senior Living has a beautiful facility near Newton. You'll have your own room, 3 meals a day, 24-hour nursing care." He paused. "We've prepaid for 6 months." 6 months. As if that made this all right. "I don't need nursing care." My voice cracked. "I just had surgery. I need to go home. To my own bed. My own house." "Your house no longer belongs to you," Victoria said flatly. "The transfer is complete and legally binding." I turned to Rachel. She'd been silent this entire time, standing slightly behind Derek, her arms crossed over her chest. She looked healthy, strong. No bandages, no surgical scars. No sign of the kidney transplant that was supposed to have saved her life. "Rachel," I pleaded. "Baby, please, tell them there's been a mistake. I gave you my kidney. I would have given you anything, but my home, that's all I have left." For a moment, I thought I saw something flicker in her eyes. Guilt, maybe, or regret. But then Derek's hand moved to her shoulder and she straightened. "I'm sorry, Mom," Rachel said quietly. Her voice was flat, emotionless. "We needed the house. We had debts. The equity. It was the only way. Debts. Equity. The only way." I stared at my daughter, at the woman I'd carried for 9 months, the woman I'd rocked to sleep every night when she was a baby, the woman I'd worked 2 jobs to put through college after James died, the woman I'd given a kidney to save her life. "You gave me your kidney, Mom," Rachel said as if reading my thoughts. "You saved my life, and I'm grateful. But we needed the house." Grateful. The word hung in the air like smoke. "Get out," I whispered. No one moved. "Get out." I shouted louder this time. Pain radiated through my surgical site, but I didn't care. "All of you, get out of my room." Victoria calmly closed the folder and tucked it back into her briefcase. Derek's hand remained on Rachel's shoulder. And Rachel just looked at me with those empty eyes. As they reached the door, Rachel turned back. "There's something else you need to know." The room tilted. Everything I thought I knew about my family was about to shatter. "What else, Rachel?" My voice came out small and broken. "What are you talking about?" Rachel opened her mouth, closed it, looked at Derek. He nodded and something cold settled in my chest. "Mom." Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. "I was never sick." The words didn't make sense. I heard them, but my brain refused to process their meaning. "What?" "The kidney failure, the test results, the dying." She swallowed hard. "It was all fake." Fake. The word echoed in my head. Fake, 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 fake. I repeated stupidly. You lied about dying." Derek laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was sharp and cruel in the quiet hospital room. "She's a hell of an actress. Don't you think, Dorothy?" Those tears, that trembling voice. "Mom, I'm dying. Stage 4 kidney failure. I need you to save me." He mimicked Rachel's voice with theatrical precision. Oscar-worthy performance. I couldn't breathe. The surgical pain in my side was nothing compared to the agony ripping through my chest. I turned to Rachel, searching her face for some sign that this was a nightmare, that I'd misheard, that my daughter, my baby girl, hadn't done this. "You looked me in the eyes," I whispered. "You held my hands. You cried. You told me you were going to die without a transplant." My voice broke. "You let me believe I was saving your life." Rachel's face crumpled. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Real tears this time, I thought bitterly. Or maybe those were fake too. Mom, please, let me explain. The word came out as a shriek. Explain what, Rachel? How you lied. How you manipulated me. How you made me think my daughter was dying. I was shaking now, my whole body trembling with rage and grief. I was so scared. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. All I could think about was losing you the way I lost your father. Mrs. Campbell, Victoria said coolly, perhaps we should— Shut up, I screamed at her. Just shut up and get out. Derek held up a hand, silencing the attorney. He was smiling, actually smiling. Oh, she can explain, he said smoothly. But first you should know where your kidney actually went. The room went silent. Even Rachel stopped crying. I stared at Derek, at his smug expression, at the way he stood there like he'd just won some kind of prize. What? My voice came out hoarse and broken. Your kidney, Dorothy. He said my name with mock affection, the one you so generously donated to save your dying daughter. He made air quotes around the word dying. Where do you think it is right now? My hand moved instinctively to the surgical site on my left side, the place where they'd cut me open, where they'd taken part of my body, my kidney, the one I'd given to Rachel because I loved her more than my own life. It's in Rachel, I said slowly. They transplanted it. No. Derek's smile widened. They didn't. The world stopped spinning. Time froze. I couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't process what he was saying. What do you mean? I whispered. I mean, Derek said, stepping closer to the bed, that your kidney never went to Rachel. Rachel was never in surgery. There was no transplant, at least not for her. Rachel made a small choked sound. Derek. We sold it. Derek continued ignoring her, to a desperate family with very deep pockets. A man who actually was dying of kidney failure. Stage 4. Real stage 4, not fake like we told you. He paused for effect. He was willing to pay any price to live. My vision blurred. The room spun. I thought I might vomit. You sold— I couldn't form complete sentences. My kidney for $750,000. Are we still together? If yes, leave a one below. It reminds me why I tell these stories. Fair warning, what comes next is heavy. Certain elements are dramatized for impact. If you need to protect your peace and stop here, I respect that. But if you stay, I promise you'll walk away with something meaningful. $750,000. The number echoed in my mind like a funeral bell. My daughter had sold a part of my body for money. You sold my kidney. The words came out strangled, barely recognizable as my own voice. Derek's smile never wavered. To Robert Mitchell, tech billionaire, made his fortune in software. He was dying, real dying, not fake dying like we told you Rachel was. He gestured casually as if discussing a business transaction. Stage 4 kidney failure, had maybe 6 months left. Now he's alive and well, thanks to you, Dorothy. I couldn't stop staring at Rachel, my daughter, the baby I'd nursed through colic, the toddler I'd rocked to sleep every night, the teenager I'd stayed up worrying about when she missed curfew, the woman standing in front of me now who'd orchestrated this nightmare. But why? My voice cracked. Rachel, if you needed money, I would have given you money. We could have sold the house together. We could have figured something out. I'm your mother. Rachel's face crumpled. Fresh tears streamed down her cheeks. Mom, we were drowning, $80,000 in debt, credit cards, medical bills from Derek's. She stopped abruptly as if catching herself mid-lie. We were going to lose everything. 80,000, I repeated numbly. You did this for $80,000. And the house, Derek added helpfully. Don't forget the house. $650,000 in equity. You add it all up, Dorothy, and we're talking about $1.4 million in total assets. Not bad for a single kidney, wouldn't you say? The casual cruelty of his words hit me like a physical blow. $1.4 million. My home, my body, my trust. all of it reduced to a balance sheet. "Rachel, honey, please." I reached toward her with a shaking hand. "Just tell me this wasn't your idea. Tell me he made you do this. Tell me you didn't want to—" "She wanted to," Derek interrupted. "In fact, it was her idea to fake the kidney disease. I just helped her execute the plan, found the right doctors to forge the test results, connected us with the buyer, made sure all the paperwork was in order." He glanced at Victoria, who stood silently by the door. "Legal paperwork, that is." Rachel was sobbing now. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I never wanted it to be like this. I thought you'd never have to know. You'd go to Sunrise, you'd be taken care of, and we'd visit, and everything would be what?" I demanded. "Normal, fine, like you, hadn't just destroyed everything. My surgical wound throbbed with each heartbeat, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the anguish tearing through my chest. I gave you my body, Rachel, a piece of my body. I thought I was saving your life." "You saved a life," Derek said with a shrug. "Just not hers." "I don't care about Robert Mitchell," I shouted. "I care about my daughter. The daughter who looked me in the eyes and lied to me, who let me think she was dying, who took everything I had and—" The door burst open with a thunderous bang. Everyone froze. A woman in a crisp white blouse and navy slacks stormed into the room. She was in her late 40s with sharp eyes and an expression of pure fury. Her hospital identification badge swung from a lanyard around her neck. Sarah Griffin, MD, transplant surgery. She looked at Derek, at Victoria, at Rachel, and finally at me. "Nobody moves, Doctor," Griffin commanded. Her voice carried the kind of authority that made even Derek step back. "I know exactly what happened here, and this stops now." The woman in the white blouse wasn't just angry, she was dispensing justice. "I'm Dr. Sarah Griffin," she announced, her voice sharp and clear, "head of transplant surgery at this hospital. And I know exactly what's been happening in this room." Derek recovered quickly, his smile sliding back into place. "Doctor, I appreciate your concern, but this is a private family matter. Organ trafficking is never a private matter, Mr. Matthews." Dr. Griffin's eyes were ice. "It's a federal crime, and you're standing in the middle of one." Rachel's face went white. "Trafficking?" "No, we weren't." "We didn't." "You didn't what?" "Doctor." Griffin pulled a tablet from under her arm and swiped the screen with sharp, precise movements. "Let me show you something, Mrs. Campbell." She looked at me, her expression softening slightly. "Your daughter claimed she had stage 4 kidney failure, that she needed an immediate transplant to survive. Is that correct?" I nodded, unable to speak. My throat felt like it was closing. Dr. Griffin turned the tablet toward Rachel. "Rachel Marie Campbell. Date of birth, April 15, 1993. Social security number ending in 4217. She paused. "0 medical records at Massachusetts General Hospital. No blood work, no imaging, no dialysis appointments, no nephrologist consultations, nothing." She rotated the screen so everyone in the room could see. The patient database showed a blank screen where Rachel's medical history should have been. "You were never a patient here, Doctor," Griffin said coldly. My stomach lurched. I looked at Rachel, searching her face for some kind of denial, some explanation. But she just stood there, frozen tears streaming silently down her cheeks. "You made it all up," I whispered. "Every test result, every doctor's appointment, my voice broke, every time you cried and told me you were dying." Rachel's mouth opened, but no sound came out. She turned to Derek, her eyes wide with panic. "But you said the doctors would cover for us. You said they'd—" "The doctors Derek bribed Dr. Griffin interrupted. Her smile was cold and sharp. "Dr. Martin Bennett and nurse practitioner Julia Ross. We have their full confessions. They've been cooperating with federal investigators for the past 72 hours. Derek's face changed. Just for a second, a barely perceptible twitch at the corner of his mouth, but I saw it. He was losing control. "This is absurd." Victoria spoke for the first time since Dr. Griffin's entrance. The attorney's voice was calm and professional. My clients haven't been charged with anything. Unless you have a warrant or law enforcement present, I'm going to have to ask you to... Officer Anderson and Officer Davis are waiting outside, Dr. Griffin said smoothly, along with Detective Andrew Rivera from the Boston Police Department's Fraud Division. They'll be joining us shortly. She turned back to me. Mrs. Campbell, I need you to understand what happened to you. Your daughter lied about being sick. She manipulated you into donating your kidney. And then she and her husband sold that kidney to another patient. The words hit me like physical blows, each one landing harder than the last. But who? My voice came out small and broken. Who has my kidney now? Dr. Griffin's expression softened. A man named Robert Mitchell. He's 68 years old. Stage 4 kidney failure, real stage 4, not fabricated. He was on the transplant waiting list for 3 years. His family was desperate. She paused. They paid for what they believed was a legal altruistic donation facilitated by a private medical coordinator. A coordinator? I repeated numbly. Derek, Dr. Griffin said flatly. He posed as a medical coordinator connecting donors with recipients. The Mitchell family had no idea this was a fraud. And then my daughter's world collapsed just like mine had, because Derek Matthews was about to reveal his true face. Dr. Griffin's sharp eyes moved to Rachel. Where's the money now, Rachel? Rachel looked confused. In our joint account. Derek handles our finances. Check it, Dr. Griffin said flatly. Right now. Rachel hesitated, glancing at Derek. He gave a slight nod. She pulled her phone and opened the banking app with trembling fingers. I watched her face as she stared at the screen, watched the confusion turn to disbelief, watched the color drain from her cheeks. It's empty, Rachel whispered. There's nothing. The room went silent. Rachel's voice rose to a panicked pitch. Derek, where's the money? The $750,000, it's gone. Derek didn't look concerned. He simply shrugged. Offshore account, Cayman Islands, transferred 3 days ago. 3 days. The same day I donated my kidney. What? Rachel's voice cracked. But that's our money that was supposed to pay off our debts. Derek laughed. The sound was cold and cruel. That joint account was for show. The real money that's in an account under my name, only mine. I watched my daughter's face crumble. She'd been betrayed, used, manipulated. No. Rachel breathed. You said we were doing this together. You said we'd pay off the debts, start over. I said a lot of things, Derek interrupted, and you believed every word. You were so desperate, Rachel, so easy to control. He tilted his head. You really think this was about $80,000 in credit card debt? That's pocket change. Rachel staggered backward. You used me. You used my mother. Well, of course I did. Derek's smile widened. That's what tools are for. You were perfect, desperate enough to lie, guilty enough to cry on cue, weak enough to do whatever I told you to do. He glanced at me. Your mother's kidney, your mother's house. Those were just assets, resources to be liquidated. We had a plan, Rachel shouted, tears streaming down her face. You had a fantasy, Derek corrected. I had a plan, and my plan worked perfectly. He shot a dark look at Dr. Griffin, until someone decided to play hero. Rachel's legs gave out. She sank against the wall, sliding down until she was sitting on the floor. She looked up at Derek with devastation I recognized. But I'm your wife, Rachel whispered. We're married. Wife. Derek repeated the words slowly. Is that what you think you are? The question hung in the air like poison. Rachel's voice was barely audible. We got married 3 years ago. The ceremony in Boston. The vows. The rings. She held up her left hand where a simple gold band gleamed. We're married, Derek. Derek reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone. He tapped the screen, then turned it toward Rachel. Are you not married? 3 words hanging in the air like poison. What do you mean? Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. We had a wedding 3 years ago in Boston. There were witnesses. We signed papers. We had a ceremony. Derek corrected his tone, almost bored. A nice little show for your mother and your friends, but I was already married, Rachel, to someone else. The silence that followed was deafening. That's not possible, Rachel stammered. Melissa Torres. Derek said clearly, as if reading from a script. New York City. We've been married for 7 years. She's an investment banker. Very successful, very wealthy. He smiled. Very much still my legal wife. Rachel shook her head violently. You're lying. You're lying to save yourself to make me look. He's not lying, Dr. Griffin interrupted. Her voice was cold and factual. We contacted Melissa Torres this morning when we began investigating the fraud. She confirmed everything. Marriage certificate dated April 22, 2019, filed in Manhattan. She also provided copies of joint tax returns, shared property deeds, and photographs. Dr. Griffin paused. She had no idea Derek had staged a fake wedding with you. Rachel's legs gave out completely. She crumpled to the floor, her whole body shaking. No, this can't be happening. Your marriage to me? Derek gestured casually. Completely worthless. Legally void. You were never my wife, Rachel. You were just a side project. A means to an end. Bigamy, Dr. Griffin said sharply, looking directly at Derek. That's another criminal charge, Mr. Matthews. On top of fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy, and organ trafficking. Rachel crawled across the floor toward my hospital bed. Her face was streaked with tears and mascara. She looked like a broken doll. Mom, she sobbed. Mom, please, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. He lied to me. He told me he loved me. He told me we were building a life together. I looked down at my daughter, at the woman who'd lied about dying, who'd taken my kidney and sold it, who'd stolen my house. And part of me, a small wounded part, wanted to reach out and comfort her, because she was my child, because I'd loved her for 33 years. But I didn't. I loved you, I said quietly. I would have died for you, Rachel, and you knew that. You used that. My voice hardened. You sold me. But he manipulated me, Rachel cried. He made me think, nobody made you do anything. Derek interrupted. He was enjoying this. I could see it in his eyes. Let's be clear about who did what, shall we, Rachel? He ticked off points on his fingers. Who suggested you fake a terminal illness to manipulate your mother, you did. Who researched kidney transplant procedures and found the doctors I could bribe, you did. Who signed every single piece of paperwork transferring your mother's house into your name, you did. But you told me to, Rachel screamed. I suggested, Derek corrected smoothly. I provided options. But you made every choice, Rachel. You chose to lie. You chose to manipulate. You chose to destroy your own mother. He straightened his jacket. And now you'll face the consequences. Fraud, elder abuse, conspiracy. You're looking at what Dr. Griffin 8 to 10 years in federal prison. Dr. Griffin's expression was unreadable. At least, Derek smiled. Meanwhile, I'll be in Mexico. No extradition treaty for financial crimes. I'll be sipping margaritas on a beach in Cabo while you're wearing an orange jumpsuit in a Massachusetts prison. Rachel collapsed completely sobbing into the hospital floor. I destroyed my mother for you, she whispered. I gave up everything, my family, my conscience, my soul, all for you. And that, Derek said, his voice dripping with contempt, is the funniest part of all. You actually thought someone like me could love someone like you. He laughed. You were desperate, weak, easy to control, perfect for what I needed. But love you? He shook his head. I've never loved anyone but myself, Rachel, and certainly not you. The cruelty of his words hit like a physical blow. Even I flinched, and I hated my daughter in that moment for what she'd done to me. Dr. Griffin's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, and a slow, cold smile spread across her face. Actually, Derek, she said softly, about that Mexico trip. Karma doesn't always arrive late. Sometimes it's waiting just outside the door. I called the police before I entered this room, Mr. Matthews," Dr. Griffin said calmly. Derek's face changed. The confidence drained away. "What are you talking about?" The door opened. 2 uniformed police officers stepped into the room. Boston Police Department badges gleamed on their chests. "Derek Matthews, you're under arrest," the first officer said. "For what?" Derek pointed at Rachel on the floor. "She did everything. She lied to her mother. She forged the documents. Conspiracy to commit organ trafficking," Dr. Griffin interrupted. "Wire fraud, elder abuse, identity theft, forgery, and bigamy." The second officer pulled out handcuffs. "We found Melissa Torres, your actual wife. She's willing to testify. She also mentioned the $750,000 you stole from her investment account last month." Derek's eyes went wide. "You can't prove—" "Turn around, hands behind your back," the first officer commanded. Derek didn't move. His eyes darted to the window, calculating. Then he bolted. He made it 3 steps before the officer grabbed his arm and spun him around. Within seconds, Derek was face down on the floor. The click of handcuffs echoed through the room. "No, it was her idea. Rachel planned everything," Derek shouted. "You have the right to remain silent," the second officer said calmly. "Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law." The officers hauled Derek to his feet. His jacket was wrinkled, his hair disheveled. He looked nothing like the confident man from an hour ago. As they led him to the door, Derek turned back to Rachel, his face twisted with contempt. "This is your fault. You ruined everything." He laughed bitterly. "I never loved you. You were just a tool. And now you're going to prison for being stupid enough to trust me." His smile was cruel. "You gave up everything for nothing. Enjoy prison, you pathetic fool." The door slammed shut. Victoria Chapman gathered her briefcase with shaking hands, avoiding eye contact. "I need to consult with my firm," she murmured and fled. The room fell silent except for Rachel's sobs. I lay in my hospital bed, surgical pain throbbing through my side where they'd taken my kidney that was now in Robert Mitchell's body. My house that was no longer mine. My daughter who had betrayed me in the worst possible way. Rachel remained on the floor, destroyed. Her makeup was smeared across her face. Her hair hung in tangles. She looked like someone had taken everything she was and shattered it into pieces. And maybe Derek had done that, but she'd done it to me first. Rachel lifted her head. Her eyes were swollen and red. "Mom," she whispered. Her voice was broken, barely audible. "Mom, please, I'm so sorry. I didn't know he was lying. I thought he loved me. I thought we were building a life together." Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "I didn't know about Melissa. I didn't know he was going to take all the money. I thought—" "Get out," I said quietly. Rachel froze. "What?" I looked at my daughter, at the woman I had carried for 9 months, the woman I had raised for 33 years, the woman I had loved more than my own life, the woman who had looked me in the eyes and lied about dying, who had taken my kidney and sold it, who had stolen my home. "Get out." My daughter knelt beside the bed and begged, and for the first time in 33 years, I turned away. "Mom, please," Rachel sobbed, reaching for my hand. Her fingers were cold and trembling. "Please listen to me." I pulled my hand back. "I don't want to hear it, Rachel." Derek lied to me. He manipulated me. I didn't know he was going to— "You knew you were lying to me." I interrupted, my voice flat and cold. "You knew you were selling my kidney. You knew you were stealing my house." I finally looked at her, really looked at her. "Don't pretend you're innocent in this." Rachel's face crumpled. "But I thought we'd use the money to take care of you. Derek said we'd make sure you were comfortable at Sunrise and we'd visit all the time and—" Derek said. My voice rose. "When are you going to take responsibility for your own choices? Rachel, Derek didn't force you to fake a terminal illness. Derek didn't force you to look me in the eyes and tell me you were dying. You did that." "I was trying to save my marriage," Rachel cried. "We were drowning in debt. I was desperate." And I was desperate to save your life, I shouted back, pain radiating through my surgical site. I gave you my body, Rachel, a piece of my actual body because I thought you were dying. Rachel reached for me again. Mom, I'm your daughter. Are you... The words came out as a whisper, and then for the first time since this nightmare began, I started to cry. Real tears, not the shocked numbness I'd felt before. I don't know who you are anymore. The daughter I raised would never have done this. That daughter loved me. That daughter had a conscience. I do love you, Rachel sobbed. The daughter I raised died, I said quietly, tears streaming down my face. She died the day she chose money over her own mother. The day she decided my body was worth $750,000. The day she signed papers to steal my home. Please, Mom. Derek manipulated both of us. He manipulated you, I said sharply. And you manipulated me. There's a difference, Rachel. Derek lied to you about loving you, but you lied to me about dying. You used my love for you as a weapon against me. A knock on the door interrupted us. The door opened and Officer Anderson stepped back into the room. His expression was professional but not unkind. Rachel Campbell, he said. You need to come with us for questioning downtown. We have some statements we need you to make. Rachel's eyes widened in panic. No, I can't leave. I need to talk to my mother. Ma'am, you need to come with us now. Officer Anderson's tone left no room for argument. Rachel stood on shaking legs. 2 officers flanked her, one on each side. As they led her to the door, she turned back one last time. Her face was streaked with tears and mascara. She looked destroyed. Mom, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I turned my face toward the window, toward the snow falling softly outside. I didn't answer. The door closed with a soft click. Silence filled the room. Complete, terrible silence. I was alone. I looked down at my hospital gown, at the bandages visible beneath the thin fabric. I touched the surgical site gently, feeling the ridge of stitches beneath the dressing. They'd cut me open here, taken part of me. And for what? For nothing. I had no kidney, no house, no daughter. Outside, snow continued to fall over Boston. The city lights blurred through my tears. I have nothing left, I whispered to the empty room. And then the darkness fell. 3 days passed in a fog of darkness. Then a stranger walked in and offered me something I didn't think I deserved, a second chance. I'd been moved to a recovery room. The ICU was needed for someone else, someone who actually had something to recover for. I sat by the window staring at nothing. The snow had stopped. The city looked clean and cold. A knock on the door. Mrs. Campbell, may I come in? I don't want visitors, I said flatly. The door opened anyway. A man stepped in, maybe 68 years old, thin but not frail. Expensive suit, sharp, intelligent eyes. He carried himself like someone used to being listened to. I'm Robert Mitchell, he said. You saved my life. I didn't look at him. I didn't save anyone. I was tricked. But I'm alive. He pulled a chair closer to the bed and sat down. Because of you, that matters. I finally turned to look at him. Really look at him. You're the man who has my kidney. Yes. His expression was serious, earnest. And I had absolutely no idea it came from fraud. My family paid for what we thought was a legal, altruistic donation through a private coordinator. We were lied to as well. How much did they pay? I asked, though I already knew the answer. That doesn't matter now. He leaned forward slightly. What matters is that I'm here. I'm alive. And I'm more grateful than I can possibly express. I laughed bitterly. My daughter sold me for money, and you're grateful. I know what happened to you, Robert said quietly. I know about your daughter and her husband. I know you lost your house. I know you have nowhere to go. He paused. That's why I'm here. I don't want charity, Mr. Mitchell. This isn't charity. He pulled out his phone and showed me a photograph. A little girl with dark hair and sad eyes. This is Emma, My granddaughter. She's 8 years old. She lost her mother 3 years ago. I stared at the photo. The girl looked lonely. I was dying, Mrs. Campbell, stage 4 kidney failure. I thought I was going to leave Emma alone in this world. His voice wavered slightly. You gave me more time with her. You gave me years I wouldn't have had. I didn't give you anything, I whispered. It was stolen from me. But I'm still alive. He put his phone away. Mrs. Campbell, Dorothy Emma needs a tutor. Someone patient and kind. Someone who understands loss. He looked at me directly. Come live with us at the estate in Beacon Hill. Teach Emma. Help her heal. And maybe... He paused. Maybe help yourself heal too. Tears filled my eyes. I don't deserve... We all deserve second chances, Robert interrupted gently. Even when we think we don't. Especially when we think we don't. A younger man appeared in the doorway. Well-dressed professional. Mr. Mitchell, the car is ready. Thank you, Marcus. Robert stood. Marcus Webb stepped into the room and placed a business card on the table beside my bed. Robert moved toward the door, then turned back. Think about it, Dorothy. When you're ready, call the number on that card. No pressure, no obligation. Just a possibility. He left. I sat alone in the quiet room. After a long moment, I picked up the card. Embossed letters, Mitchell Estate, Beacon Hill, Boston. For the first time in days, I felt something flicker inside my chest. It wasn't hope. Not yet. But it was something. A tiny spark. A possibility. Maybe I didn't have to stay in the darkness forever. 1 week later, I accepted Robert's offer. 2 weeks after that, Detective Andrew Rivera sat across from me with a file folder full of my daughter's betrayals. We were in the library of the Mitchell Estate. A fire crackled in the stone fireplace. Outside November, rain streaked the tall windows. Emma was upstairs doing homework. Robert had given us privacy. Detective Rivera was in his early 50s with graying hair and kind eyes. He set the folder on the mahogany table between us. Mrs. Campbell, thank you for agreeing to meet with me. You said you're building the case, I asked quietly, against Derek Matthews and Rachel Campbell. I need your testimony. He opened the folder. But first I want you to see what we've found. He laid out papers like cards in a game I'd lost months ago. Text messages. Derek to Rachel dated 8 months before the surgery. Tell your mother you're dying. She'll do anything. Rachel's response, I can't. That's too cruel. Derek, do you want to lose everything? The house, us? Rachel, okay, I'll do it. I stared at the printed messages. My hands shook. More evidence. Forged medical records with fake doctor signatures. A confession from a lab technician paid $5,000 to falsify kidney function tests. Bank statements showing the $750,000 transferred to the Cayman Islands, Derek's name only. Derek Matthews has done this before, Rivera said quietly. 4 times that we know of. He showed me more files, more women, more lies. Seattle 2019, Linda Carter, $400,000, Portland 2020. Sarah Johnson, $300,000. Chicago 2021. Maria Garcia, $250,000. Boston 2023. You, $750,000. I felt sick. And Rachel. Just one of his victims. But here's the complicated part. Rivera pulled out another document. He also has 2 other legal wives, Melissa Torres in New York and Amy Blake in Seattle. He was married to 3 women simultaneously. 3 women, I whispered. Serial marriage fraud. He targets vulnerable women, marries them illegally, manipulates them into committing crimes, takes the money, and vanishes. Rivera's expression was grim. Rachel Campbell was victim number 3. Except this time we caught him. I thought of Rachel's face when Derek revealed the truth, the devastation. She was manipulated, I said slowly. Yes, Rivera agreed. But she also chose to participate. She lied to you. She forged documents. She stole your house. She's both victim and perpetrator. What will happen to her? That depends on the judge and the evidence. but the case against her is strong." He paused. "Which brings me to why I'm here. Will you testify, Mrs. Campbell?" I sat in silence for a long time. The fire popped. Rain drummed against the windows. Somewhere upstairs, I heard Emma's soft footsteps. "Yes," I finally said. "Some truths need to be told." Rivera nodded. "The trial is scheduled for 3 months from now, February. You'll need to face Derek Matthews in court. You'll need to recount everything that happened." He hesitated. "And you'll need to face Rachel." My chest tightened. "Can I do that? Can I face my daughter in court?" Rivera looked at me with those kind, tired eyes. "That's exactly what I needed to ask you." 3 months later, I walked into Suffolk County Courthouse, and I saw my daughter in handcuffs. The courtroom was packed with reporters and strangers. Rachel sat at the defendant's table in an orange prison jumpsuit. She'd lost weight. Her hair was pulled back, no makeup, just handcuffs. She looked up when I entered. Our eyes met for half a second before I looked away. Derek sat at a separate table. He'd be tried separately. Today was Rachel's day. Judge Barbara Russell entered white-haired and stern. "Be seated." Prosecutor Jennifer Hayes presented the evidence methodically. Medical records, bank transfers, text messages. Each piece felt like a knife. Defense attorney Edward Bell argued Rachel had been manipulated, a victim of Derek's fraud scheme, but the evidence spoke louder. The prosecution calls Dorothy Campbell to the witness stand. I walked forward and placed my hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. "Mrs. Campbell," Prosecutor Hayes began, "why did you donate your kidney?" I looked at the jury. "Because my daughter told me she was dying, and a mother will trade anything to save her child." "Do you still love her?" I was silent for a long time. I loved the daughter I thought I had. But that daughter, she never existed. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Judge Russell leaned forward. "Mrs. Campbell, do you wish to address the defendant directly?" I nodded. I stood and walked to face Rachel. She was crying. "Rachel," I began. My voice was steady. "I gave you life twice. Once when I brought you into this world after 18 hours of labor, and once when I gave you my kidney because I believed you were dying." Rachel's shoulders shook. "When you looked at me, you saw dollar signs. You didn't see the woman who worked 2 jobs after your father died, who sold her wedding ring to pay your college tuition." I took a breath. "Derek planted the seed. I know that. He manipulated you, but you watered it. You chose to fake illness. You chose to look me in the eyes and lie. You chose to steal my home. You chose greed." My voice didn't waver. "You're not just a victim, Rachel. You're a victim who became a perpetrator, and that's so much worse." Rachel's voice broke. "Mom, I'm so sorry." "I forgive you for being manipulated by Derek," I said clearly. "But I will never forgive you for choosing to manipulate me." I walked back to my seat. I didn't look back. The courtroom was silent except for Rachel's crying. Judge Russell spoke. "Rachel Campbell, this court finds you guilty of conspiracy to commit fraud, elder abuse, and identity theft. You are sentenced to 10 years in federal prison, eligible for parole after 7 years." Rachel collapsed forward. "Derek Matthews will be tried separately with a recommended sentence of 43 years, no parole." The bailiffs moved to Rachel's side. They led her toward the door. As she passed, she turned her head, looked at me one last time. Her eyes were desperate, pleading. I looked away. The door closed with a heavy thud. It was over. 1 year later, spring came to Boston, and for the first time in years, I felt peace. I sat in the library with Emma at my side. She was 9 now, taller, with dark hair and braids. A book lay open between us. "Sound it out, sweetheart," I said gently. Emma frowned. "Grandma Dorothy, this word is so hard." "You can do it. Remember what we practiced." She sounded out each syllable. "Beautiful, beautiful." Her face lit up. She threw her arms around me. I did it. Tears filled my eyes. Happy tears. "Yes, you did, sweetheart. I'm so proud." I remember teaching elementary school years ago. The same patience, the same joy. This was who I was meant to be. That afternoon, Robert suggested a walk through Boston Common. Spring had transformed the city. Cherry blossoms floated through the air. The sun was warm. Emma ran ahead laughing and picking flowers. Robert walked beside me. He'd recovered remarkably well from the transplant. "You gave me more than a kidney, Dorothy," he said quietly. "You gave me time with Emma. You gave me a life. You gave me a family when I had nothing," I replied. "That makes us even." We sat on a bench beneath a cherry tree. Emma chased a butterfly through the grass. Marcus approached with mail. He handed me an envelope. I recognized the return address of federal prison in Massachusetts. Rachel. My hands trembled. I stared at my daughter's handwriting. Dorothy Campbell, Mitchell Estate, Beacon Hill. "Do you want to read it?" Robert asked gently. I was silent. Cherry blossoms drifted down around us. "No," I finally said. "Some chapters need to stay closed." I handed the letter to Robert. "Keep it for me. Maybe someday I'll be ready, but not today." Robert took it and slipped it into his jacket pocket. "Do you regret it?" he asked. "Donating your kidney." I watched Emma twirl in the grass trying to catch petals. I regret trusting the wrong person, but I don't regret living with integrity. I looked at Robert. "That kidney saved your life. That was worth it." Grandma Dorothy. Emma ran over breathless. Look, a butterfly landed on my hand. She held out her small palm. A monarch butterfly rested there, wings opening and closing. "Make a wish," I told her. She closed her eyes, then blew gently. The butterfly lifted off and floated away. Emma climbed onto the bench between us. She leaned against my shoulder. "I love you, Grandma Dorothy." My heart swelled. "I love you too, sweetheart." This was family, not because of blood, but because of choice, because of love freely given. That night, I stood before the mirror in my bedroom. I lifted my shirt and looked at the long scar along my left side, the place where they'd taken my kidney. I traced it with my fingertip. The skin was smooth, now healed. "Scars remind us what we've survived," I whispered. And I survived. I survived betrayal. I survived loss. I survived darkness. And I found light again. I was in the garden on a late afternoon planting rose bushes, James's favorite flower. Robert and Emma watched from nearby Emma, asking questions about every leaf and petal. I pressed the soil around the roots and thought about family. Family isn't defined by blood. It's defined by respect. Rachel and I shared DNA. We shared 33 years of history. But we never shared values. We never shared the same vision of what love meant or what loyalty required. Robert and I don't share blood, but we share gratitude. We share dignity. We share faith in second chances. That's the family I chose, and the family that chose me back. The court overturned the house transfer. Fraud invalidates contracts. I got my home back 428 Elm Street, but I didn't move back in. Too many ghosts. Too many memories of a daughter who never really existed. I sold it for $650,000. Every penny went to establish a scholarship fund for orphaned children, the James and Dorothy Campbell Memorial Fund, so that kids who've lost their parents can still go to college, still have hope, still have a future. The court also seized Derek's offshore accounts. I received $400,000 in restitution. I donated all of it to an organization I helped create, Rachel's Warning Fund. It helps families recognize the signs of financial abuse and manipulation. It offers counseling, legal aid, escape plans for those trapped in toxic relationships. I kept $50,000 for emergencies, just in case. Robert insisted. Derek was ordered to pay additional restitution, but he has nothing left. Everything he stole, he spent. He'll spend the next 43 years in federal prison with nothing but time to think about the lives he destroyed. And Rachel. Sometimes I still think about her, alone in that cell. I wonder if she's learning to be human again, if she's healing, if she understands what she did. Maybe in 7 years, when she's eligible for parole, we can try again, not as mother and daughter, That bond is broken beyond repair. But maybe as two people who survived the same predator, two people learning to forgive themselves for the choices they made. Forgiveness doesn't come instantly. It's not a switch you flip. It's a journey, a long, painful, necessary journey, and I'm still walking it. I planted the last rose bush and sat back on my heels, dirt under my fingernails, sun warm on my face. "Grandma Dorothy," Emma asked, kneeling beside me, "what kind of roses are these?" "They're called New Dawn," I said, "for new beginnings." Emma touched a soft pink petal. "They're beautiful. Like you." I pulled her into a hug. "Like us, sweetheart." Robert smiled from the garden bench. His color was good, his health stable. The kidney had saved his life. And in saving his life, I'd somehow saved my own. That night, I stood in front of the mirror one last time. I lifted my shirt and looked at the scar, the long raised line where they'd taken part of me. I used to see it as a mark of betrayal, a reminder of everything I'd lost. Now I see it differently. It's a badge of survival. Proof that I endured something terrible and came out the other side. Proof that I'm stronger than I knew. I'm not a victim anymore. I'm a survivor. And that makes all the difference. Before I let you go, let me tell you what I've learned from this family drama story. I'm Dorothy Campbell, and if you're watching grandma stories like mine, you know how deep betrayal can cut. These family drama stories aren't just entertainment, they're warnings. Don't make my mistakes. I trusted blindly because I thought blood meant loyalty. I gave my daughter everything, my body, my home, my heart. She gave me nothing but pain. God showed me the truth through this darkness. When I thought I'd lost everything, God sent Robert and Emma into my life. They taught me that real family isn't about genetics. It's about respect and love that's freely given, not manipulated. I appreciate you making it this far. Comment too if you're still watching. I love knowing you're here. Quick reminder, what follows includes fictionalized elements for educational and entertainment purposes. If that's not your preference, feel free to find another video. No hard feelings. But if you stay, let's finish this journey together. So many grandma stories end in sadness and regret. So many family drama stories show elderly people abandoned and broken. But mine ends differently. Not because my daughter came back, she didn't, but because I chose to survive. I chose dignity over desperation. God doesn't waste our pain. He redirects it. My kidney saved Robert's life. My story might save someone else from making the same mistakes. Here's my lesson from all these family drama stories and grandma stories I've lived through. Set boundaries. Protect yourself. Walk away from toxic people even if they're your own blood. Choose family that chooses you back, and trust God to heal what's been broken. You're not a victim, you're a survivor, and that makes all the difference.